That's an amazing reflection on your first year of university and in everything leading up to it. So I suppose my next question would be, in thinking about that, what would you say are the major differences between your first year experience of university, as you recall it, compared to that you observe of first year ancient history students today?
Well, I'm not so sure about today, but when I taught at the University of Sydney in 1957, for example, which is over 50 years ago.
Yeah, what were you teaching there?
Ancient history. By that time I was teaching ancient history.
Fantastic.
I didn't set out to study history. I never studied history at university.
Wow.
Nor much at school either. I was interested in languages. But by the time I came into permanent employment, I was teaching history. And something very important happened in 1957, which I think is the key to what happens today.
Okay.
And for the first time, the Australian government instituted special funding. This is in the post-Sputnik era, when it was thought we had to catch up with the Russians. And so the universities were expanded, and above all, we were to teach in small units. Prior to that, at Sydney, we were lecturing to 500 students at once.
Wow.
But they gave us tutorial classes.
Okay.
And I vividly remember the first tutorial classes, the students contradicting me all the time. And Ronald Ridley, for example, who became Professor of History at Melbourne, was one of them.
Oh!
And he said in writing what happened was that not only did they contradict me in the class, they'd go home and sit up all night looking for more evidence to
what
roll over
scallywags!
No, that is the difference between university education now and what it was in 1945. In 1945, I simply copied out, when I got home at night, I copied out Popper's lectures from rough notes, and I have them to this day in exercise books with everything said. That was all we had.
Okay.
But by 1957, the students were bursting with intellectual questions, above all wanting to challenge what the tutor was saying.
Okay.
That's a big difference.
Yeah.
And I think that is the major difference between 1945 and now, that the intellectual life of students at the beginning is far more alert. And I know why it is now.
Yeah.
Because of the far more questioning approach to knowledge in the high school system in this state.
Indeed.
The higher school certificate in New South Wales is a very high level intellectual testing process.
Yes.
And that affects the very much more adult approach to inquiry in universities now. We were simply taking it as it was handed down to us in 1945.
And how do you feel about that change? Are you glad for the more rigorous and inquiring students of today?
Well, of course that's good, but I have some reservations. I think one has to start with some accumulation.
Yes, indeed.
If one doesn't start with anything, all the question in the world doesn't get you very far. The questioning is fundamental.
Absolutely.
There has to be a question. If there's no question, you've got to create one.
Yes.
And but I certainly wanted to accumulate. I wanted to accumulate language knowledge, not with a view to becoming anything. I had no career in mind. I simply liked doing the languages. And it was too late. One should learn languages early on.
I agree.
It's very difficult.
Oh, I agree.
But above all, what language training does is it, of course, expands your framework of reference enormously in subtle ways.
Absolutely.
And it helps, it detaches you from the prison of your own language.
Absolutely. So the message I'm getting from you is inquiry based on foundations.
Yes, certainly.
Indeed. That's fantastic.